Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 1990 Canadian comedy film titled Perfectly Normal. Now, Perfectly Normal runs for 1 hour and 47 minutes long. It is directed by Yves Simoneau. It is produced by Michael Burns. The script was written by Paul Quarrington. The screenplay was done by Eugene Lipinski. The score was done by Richard Gregoire. The cinematography was done by Alain Dosti. And the editing was done by Ronald Sanders. And the stars of the movie are, let's see who we have. Well, we have Robbie Coltrane. Yes, we all know him familiar as Hagrid from the Harry Potter franchise. We also have Michael Riley, Deborah Duchene, Eugene Lipinski, Kenneth Walsh, Patricia Gage, J.D. Nicholson, and Andrew Miller. And it actually went on to win a Genie, which is kind of like the Canadian equivalent to the Oscars for Best Written Screenplay. And rightfully so. So, I'm probably not going to go on a very long tangent here because not too many people really know about this movie. It's a very, very obscure Canadian movie. But, hey, even the smallest movies deserve a little bit of credit. So, though very few people know about this hidden gem, Perfectly Normal is truly one of those comedies that could make you laugh and at the same time adds a whole profile depth of humanity to it, making it both entertaining and inspiring at the same time. It's a shame that this movie is so obscure and so overlooked because it deserves at least one look just for all time's sakes. Okay, so we have Michael Riley. He stars as the leading character who goes by the name of Renzo Paracci, who works in this rather mundane, routine job at a beer bottle factory, and he also volunteers as a hockey goalie with his company's pathetic hockey team during the day, and he also works as a cab driver at night. So the guy kind of seems to have this dull routine 9 to 5 job, and he has to have two jobs just to make ends meet. He seems to kind of adapt to this kind of style. Renzo seems satisfied with his ordinary, predictable lifestyle. However, his life takes a shift for the better as he picks up a con artist by the name of Alonzo Turner, played by Robbie Coltrane, who tries to persuade Renzo to cash in his late mother's inheritance and to transform it into an Italian restaurant. And I don't mean a fast food Italian pizza joint with cardboard pizza or just, quick money type of Italian restaurant, but a more authentic Italian restaurant that serves more exquisite dishes. And like I said, not just an Italian restaurant, but an Italian restaurant that has a theme to it, where the staff must dress like opera characters and to also entertain the customers with a floor show. And during this whole time, Alonzo kind of is like this burden that doesn't seem to want to go away. I mean, he's like kind of like eventually becomes a live in roommate to Renzo in his apartment. And every time Renzo wants to have some privacy, or every time Renzo wants to go about of his routine lifestyle, Alonzo always seems to show up. I mean, even at his pathetic hockey game, he's right there in the bleachers. Or at his beer bottle factory. He seems to show up everywhere he goes, and that's usually always good for some great comic effect. It may not seem like a lot, but it actually is very, very entertaining. So this movie, even though it did win a Genie for for best screenplay, I don't think it actually was Genie material, but the numerous subplots are what make the zany comedy remarkably funny, which is very similar to the more successful comedies like Comfort and Joy and Lost in Translation. And I can hardly wait till it comes out on DVD. It's truly one of those movies on my A list. Now, granted for you, the star quality in this movie is very, very small. You won't really identify too many of the main characters because most of them are pretty much stuck in Canada. And that's not entirely a bad thing, but if you watch this movie, you probably won't identify who's who, and that the only identifiable character is Robbie Coltrane, who has been in several movies. Of course, his most famous role is Hagrid from the Harry Potter movies. And when it comes to acting, the performances, it is actually Robbie Coltrane that actually outacts everyone. But he's good. He is really, really damn good in his role. I mean, the guy actually can really, really pull off the accent very well. Um, he definitely does not make you think that he's a British actor. You would be surprised at how he would manage to break out of his British accent to kind of play off the role as I supposedly think he's probably playing off uh, an Italian or Italian Canadian, I suppose. I mean, he does kind of have this kind of "Hey, how you doing?" Bada boom, bada bing type of accent, you know? Eh? You know, that's kind of like what he was. What he was. I'm sorry if I offended anybody here. I didn't mean to do it. Hey, sometimes I have to provide a little bit of entertainment in my channel. So if I offended anybody just by doing that alone, I sincerely apologize. But I digress. Like I said, he pulled it off. I mean, the guy can virtually disguise his voice perfect, perfectly. You almost don't think he's British. And he really, really plays it well. I mean, I'm not saying that the other actors did a bad job. Michael Riley also played pretty good, pretty well, playing the straight character, a guy who lives an ordinary lifestyle, who just wants, who doesn't really have any other kind of ambition except to just live the life as he chooses. But then, but then through persuasion and trying to get to know Alonzo better, Renzo truly has what used to be just a dull, ordinary wonton life he now finally has something that he can call his own just by using the money that he inherited from his late mother. He can now finally have something that he could call his own. He now has his own restaurant. He now is running a successful restaurant that comes complete with characters from operas, and they have a floor show. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's kind of like what Alonzo's purpose was. At first, when you think of Alonzo Turner's character, you think of him as being brash, selfish, self centered. Hey, he's a con artist, so of course, you'll expect to see that. But then in the end, like when they do some kind of Italian opera floor show, they do their little act, they do their curtain call. But then when Renzo does the curtain call, Alonzo disappears, hops into some taxi, and drives off. Now, there's a bit of some symbolism here towards this movie, and, it's just because of the fact that Alonzo was not doing this con artist thing for himself, he was doing it to help this guy. So, in some ways, he's like a bit of a vigilante. Of course, this movie is definitely played for laughs. Even though the movie is pretty much has some dark humor to it, there still, makes you laugh the whole way through. And this definitely does brighten up a person's life. And it's such a shame that very few people know about this, and very few people will really ever know about this movie. But it did score well in the box office. It got a lot of approval by the ratings. But I don't know if it ever come out on DVD, which is kind of disappointing. So you'll probably have to check places like Daily Motion, Putlocker, Sockshare, and maybe you might probably find it there because it's very obscure. Very few people know about this. But it still is a good movie. Yes, it's kind of dated because, this movie came out in 1990. And this movie really truly looks like it is stuck in the 90s or the late 80s. But it's still a fun watch. And, like when I do movie reviews, I don't just do the big blockbuster stuff. Every once in a while, I would like to take the time and to go and do some obscure movies to review because even they deserve a chance to have me indulge my 2 cents. So if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would definitely give Perfectly Normal an 8.5. So I do highly recommend this movie. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. Just remember, be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any kind of rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Carrot Writer saying, keep watching those movies. And I'll see you around. Goodbye.